Welcome back to the channel, everybody. We have quite a few whale alerts as well as news, so let's go ahead and get straight into it. The first one up here we have is 3,900 Bitcoin worth about $277 million, and that went to an unknown wallet. Shortly thereafterwards, we saw $220 million of USDC that went to an unknown wallet. Then we've got, again, USDC to an unknown wallet, $300 million worth, $407 million worth, another $407 million worth, the same amount. Again, all going to unknown wallets. We're seeing that very consistently on the daily. $300 million worth of USDC also to an unknown wallet, $220 million worth, and then we move over to USDT with $120 million worth of USDT transferred to Bitfinex, this coming from an unknown wallet. Then $120 million in USDT from Bitfinex over to Kraken, so a bit of shuffling going on. $120 million of USDT from Kraken to an unknown wallet. So just to recap for you guys, unknown wallet to Bitfinex, Bitfinex to Kraken, and then Kraken to unknown wallet. And moving on, we have 2,750 Bitcoin, $191 million transferred from an unknown wallet to unknown wallet. We have $191 million worth of Bitcoin, again to an unknown wallet. $124 million worth of Ethereum to an unknown wallet. $250 million worth of USDC minted at the Treasury. We have $90 million of USDC burned at the Treasury. $98 million of USDC burned at the Treasury. $150 million worth of USDC from Coinbase Institutional to an unknown wallet. We have $150 million worth of USDC from the USDC Treasury to an unknown wallet. $320 million of USDC unknown wallet. Again, $320 million to an unknown wallet. Now, let's go and move on to the major bits of news. Brazil now legally classifies crypto as money. We also have, for the Bitcoin Fear and Greed Index, it is registering as 10, extreme fear. Things are getting really, really low. This is also big news. The Fed is looking at injecting over $8 billion in liquidity today. This was some big news. Ripple name dropped in Congress today. Representative Sam Liccardo mentioned Ripple in a House hearing on financial innovation. He asked Fed regulators if they're moving fast enough to support payment tech that makes money move quicker and cheaper. Earlier this year, Ripple proposed a recommendation of letting stablecoin issuers use Fed accounts with pre-funded ACH. This would help RLUSD integrate smoothly with U.S. domestic payments, payrolls, bills, etc., while reducing trapped capital. And from Ripple themselves, stablecoins are moving from trading tools to core financial infrastructure. North America leads with 45% of total crypto transaction value in transfers over $10 million, signaling institutional scale flows driving demand for regulated, compliance-first assets. Our LUSD is designed for that environment, and then they provide a link to an article there. Breaking, Coinbase just announced it will launch crypto-backed mortgages for over 100 million Americans. Buy and own a house without selling your crypto. This is massive. Now, talking about crashes, nearly $4 trillion has been wiped out from the S&P 500 in the last 2 months since its all-time high. Speaking about some purchasing, though, Marathon Digital, or Mara, just sold... Oh, this is actually not a purchase, sorry. This was a sale. A sale of $1 billion worth of Bitcoin. And the initial jobless claims, it was expected 210,000. What we actually got was 210,000. So it's one of those instances where the prediction actually came true. And here we go. Big warning. The Japanese bond market is breaking. Just today, Japan's 2-year and 5-year bond yields have hit a new all-time high. And this is something that could crash the markets. Let me explain to you why. For decades, Japan has been a cheap source of borrowing for global investors. This started to change in 2024 when the Bank of Japan did its first rate hike. The reason was inflation moving higher, and now the situation is about to get worse. The world economy is facing an energy crisis similar to the 1970s. Prices have started to surge while supply disruption is still continuing. This means inflation is about to run rampant, and this calls for more tightening. But there's one problem. The global economy is already weak, and any tightening will break everything. In the case of Japan, any further rate hike from the Bank of Japan will make the yen carry trade worse. Investors will be forced to sell their assets and repay the debt that they took at low interest rates. And this history supports this. In quarter one of 2024, the Bank of Japan hiked rates and markets dumped. In the first quarter of 2025, the Bank of Japan hiked rates and markets dumped. And in the fourth quarter of 2025, the Bank of Japan hiked rates and markets dumped. This means if another rate hike happens, a dump will most likely happen next. New, Visa will join the Canton network as a super validator aiming to bring privacy-preserving blockchain payments and stablecoin infrastructure to banks and financial institutions. And just in, Coinbase partners with Better Mortgage to launch crypto-backed home loans. We talked a little bit about that earlier. And breaking $500 billion has wiped out in the U.S. market open alone. Fidelity actually bought some Bitcoin, $83 million worth. Fannie Mae will accept crypto-backed mortgages for the first time, allowing Americans to use Bitcoin and crypto as collateral to buy a home. And new, the HashDex NASDAQ CME Crypto Index ETF, or NCIQ, is expanded to 7 assets. These include Cardano, Chainlink, to its existing Bitcoin, Ethereum, XRP, Solana, and XLM holdings per its first annual SEC 10K filing. And also just in, CME Group elevates XRP to institutional elites alongside Bitcoin and Ethereum. Update, the White House clears review of a proposed 401k rule by U.S. Department of Labor that could allow crypto investments. And CME Group officially lists XRP along Bitcoin and Ethereum in SEC filing. CME Group has officially included XRP along these in its latest filing with the SEC Gov. Since launching in May of 2025, XRP futures have reportedly recorded nearly $26.9 billion in notional trading volume. They also reached around $213 million in average daily volume within just 5 months. XRP futures hit $1 billion in open interest in just over 3 months, reportedly the fastest pace among CME's listed crypto products. CME is pushing XRP deeper into mainstream institutional markets. And just taking a look at XRP on the daily here, it is quite deep in the red. 2 daily candle closures of red, barely closing out in the red yesterday, but a big deep red candle here, dropping below that key Fibonacci zone, that key level of psychological support, $1.40, sitting at about $1.36 while I'm recording the video. So it's come up a little bit here, but dropping down below once again. You guys can see, just zooming out a tad bit, it's had quite a few instances where it is dangling right down below in this Fibonacci zone and trying to hold that line, looking like a level of support or a bottom here right around $1.32. Let me know how you guys feel about the market, and if you want to check me out on Blue Sky at Crypto Atlas, you can check me out over there. Also, if you want to show your support, you can find me over on Patreon. I'm Crypto Atlas there, and you can also become, or you could become a YouTube member. I appreciate you guys so much. God bless, and we'll see you in the next video.